Hello everyone, welcome back to another boot review on this channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elite. This is a review that is long overdue, but alas, here we are. I'm going to drop it now. With this review, I'm going to do something that's a bit different to my previous reviews. I think I've done 3 or 4 on this channel so far, and I want to spice things up in terms of the way that I can look at the boots. In the past, I used to do a rating system where I would break the boots' performance metrics into 6 categories: the upper, the sole plate, fit and comfort, lockdown, durability, and overall performance. And I'd give a rating out of 10, culminating in an ultimate rating out of 10 for the boots. Now, while I think that is still an effective way to rate my boots personally, I just feel like focusing in on what's good about the boots and what's bad objectively would be better in terms of the delivery of a review for you guys who are watching. And it also helps me keep things more concise and more focused on the topic at hand when it comes to the boots instead of me going into spiels or rambles about how the boots perform and so on and so forth. And so going forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break my reviews into a pro section and a con section. The pros, obviously, where I talk about what I really like about the boots, and the cons, where I talk about what I don't like so much about the boots. That way, I can keep my reviews concise and also give you guys an accurate representation of what I think the boots are, how they perform, and what they feel like on feet. So, without further ado, let's get started. Beginning with the pros of the Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elite, I want to start out with this outsole. This outsole, if you're a Tiempo wearer, will look pretty familiar because not only does it feature on this Legend 10, but it also features on the Legend 9, the Legend 8, 7, 6, in some sort of variation. But you get the general same trend with the stud pattern in that you have toe pick studs at the front, you have the conical studs in the forefoot and in the midfoot area, and in the heel you have bladed studs. This is very good, especially for an FG model boot, because this is the FG model. You get a really good balance of studs for playing on a variety of different playing surfaces, primarily artificial ground and firm ground, because I wouldn't really use these for soft ground. I already have a pair of Vapors just for that. But if I want to use these on artificial ground, I would have absolutely no issues. As you guys can probably tell from all the staining on the boots, these have been used on artificial ground a lot, especially because where I am, it's winter, so the grass fields in my area are either frozen or covered in snow. Like I said, this is really good for artificial grass because the conical studs are not too long to where they dig too much into the artificial ground and get stuck by the rubber pellets, and also with the circular nature of conical studs, that allows you a lot more freedom to twist and pivot when you're running in an artificial ground playing surface. So this is really nice for that. Additionally, these bladed heel studs, while not being the most aggressive out there, they do provide me with a decent amount of bite when I'm stopping, when I'm trying to change direction or turn on my heels. I get a lot of grip on artificial grass. And when I use these in the summer on firm grass, they're absolutely phenomenal. It's a very balanced sole plate. And I think that if you're someone who likes to use something that's really aggressive, like a Mercurial Vapor or an Adidas like X model, for example, you're not going to hate these. You may want something a little more aggressive than this, but if you have something like this at the base of your shoe, you'll really enjoy these for the versatility that you get from this outsole. Another thing that I like about this outsole is the flexibility that it has in the forefoot. This gives a lot of spring back. And for someone like me who's always on my toes when I'm sprinting, because of my sprint pattern, it's very rapid, a lot of ground contact time, if that makes any sense. The way I can describe is that I take a lot more strides when I'm trying to accelerate and reach my top speed. So that snapback that I get from this forefoot junction on the outsole is really useful when I'm trying to push off and get to my top speed. Now, in terms of weight, this is amazing because this Tiempo is the lightest Tiempo Legend that's ever been made. I think it's even lighter than the Phantom GX currently, and it's on par with the Mercurial Vapor 15, but don't quote me on that. I do not have a scale, and this is in size 11, so I have no idea how much it weighs in size 11. But what I can say is that in hand, it's very light. It's almost like amazing how light it is. You would only expect this from something like a speed boot. And when you have it on feet, you also notice how light it is. You don't really notice the boots per se, but you do feel that they're less of a burden. Your feet feel quicker and lighter compared to some of the other models I've seen in the past. So that's another major bonus that you get with these Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elites. My last major plus for this boot would be the upper. Now, I'm not really a leather person, so this may come as a bit controversial, but I never really understood the whole allure behind leather because I don't wear leather football boots. And I know it's very tough for most people who were Tiempo wearers in the past to really come to grips with this upper just because they preferred the leather. Synthetic leather will never be the same as leather. It's just that simple, but you can only try and imitate it to a certain point. So I think as an imitation, this is pretty good. And as an actual upper, it's honestly a really good combination of speed, lightweightness, but also padding and pureness, if that makes any sense. The upper is very thin, but it's also not that thin to where you feel like every touch is barefoot, like you would get with a Mercurial Vapor or Superfly, for example. The thinness comes from this upper layer of the Fly Touch Plus, which, if I haven't mentioned, that's the name of this new upper material that replaced the kangaroo leather on the Tiempo Legend 9. This upper layer is pretty soft, very thin, very malleable, and very sticky to the touch. Not sticky in the sense of like a Phantom GX or like a rubber material, but it has that leather grain, um, matte like finish that you would get from a natural leather football boot, which is really nice to the touch. And inside, you have a nice padding on the liner, which makes the boot really feel cushioned, but not so much to where you feel like you're just stuck under a whole layer of padding and you get no sort of sensation or feel with the ball. For me, I'm someone who really enjoys making contact with the ball, and it really helps when I'm trying to figure out how I'm striking a ball with a certain technique. For example, the knuckleball is one of those that I need to feel the ball in order to really get a good connection with it. And with how thin this boot's upper is, how thin Fly Touch Plus really is, I'm able to really do that when I wear these boots. So I really like that. Additionally, it has, as I mentioned before, a decent amount of padding to where if you get stepped on, it will hurt a bit, but it's not so bad to some other thin boots that I've worn before, where like I almost like lose my toenails or I get cuts and bruises on my foot because of the stamps. So, in all, I think this upper is a very fantastic addition to the boot, despite not being like the traditional kangaroo leather that most fans are used to. And I also believe that with the addition of this outsole and the weight of this boot, it's a very good package objectively. For anyone who's interested in looking for a Nike model, I wouldn't tell them to shy away from this boot. I think this is definitely a solid option. But as with all boots, it's not without its flaws. And so we're now going to look at the negatives or the cons that I have with this football boot. With regards to the cons of this football boot, I'm not saying this as if to say that the boot is bad or anything. As you guys have already heard in the pros section of this video, there's a lot to like about this Tiempo Legend 10 Elite, but it does have its issues. Now, for me, my main issues with the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite come in the form of the fit, the durability, and the lockdown. So, with the fit, what I can say about this boot is that it has a decently wide toe box, but through the midfoot, it's pretty narrow, pretty snug, and then in the heel, it's pretty wide and just awkwardly shaped, in my opinion. Now, this is a problem for me because I have wide feet, and as a wide-footed player, the width of my foot is mainly centralized in that midfoot area. So whenever I wear these boots, my toes feel fine and my heel feels fine. But if I tie the laces tight, because I like to have my laces especially tight when I'm wearing my football boots, it squeezes my midfoot to a point where it's a little unbearable, especially at the start of a practice session or a game, and that really affects my performance. So, as a wide-footed player, especially if you're someone who has a lot of width in your midfoot, you probably won't enjoy these just because of how narrow that midfoot is. Another issue is that because this is synthetic leather, not real leather, as we all know, real leather has a much greater capacity to stretch because it's an animal skin. It can just stretch and mold to the foot, which is why so many people like leather in the first place. It makes for a super comfortable experience. This is synthetic, so while it will stretch, it will not stretch nearly as much as something that's with natural leather. And that is the main problem I have with the fit of this boot. This does not stretch no matter how many times I use it. It just always seems to revert back to the normal position. And for someone like me with over 20 pairs of boots, who's constantly rotating them, if I ever get back into these, it's like I'm trying to break them in all over again just because they seem to remold to that predetermined shape that they started out with. And it just makes the experience not that great for me. The next issue I have would be the durability. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I've used these a lot on artificial grass. And as you know, this is the FG model. So it's not built necessarily for artificial grass. That said, I have seen a lot of other FG models, and I do own primarily FG models that I use on artificial grass. And the durability of those compared to this are not nearly as bad. I will probably insert some B-roll clips of what I'm talking about, but alongside the entire toe box, like the lip, the sole plate is starting to peel away. So that sole plate upper junction is starting to chip, crack, fragment, and just peel away, which is not good for the durability of the boot. Because if I continue to use these, no matter on regular grass or artificial grass, they will start to pick up the pellets, the dirt, the rock, the grass, which will make the boots start to break down faster. It's even worse on my right boot on this side because right here, it's going to be hard to see, but right here, there's a separation. I can fully put my fingernail in here if you guys can see that. And that's a part of the turf sole separation. So, yes, while I have been technically football boot irresponsible by using an FG pair on an AG surface because of injury and durability, this is just not that durable. And it's one of the things that I really don't like. I've only had these for, I'd say 5, 6 months because I got them in September when the peak, I think it was the peak ready pack, or was it just the ready pack? I think that's what Nike calls this. But the ready pack just dropped in September, or maybe even early August, and I just got these on September 10th, I remember. So I don't know why the durability should be so poor compared to some of my other FG boots I've had for even longer, like my Vapor 15s from the Luminous Pack colorway. So yeah, it's just another thing you have to pay attention to. If you're gonna get these, I would probably recommend getting the AG pair, especially if you play on an AG surface, just because that durability seems to be pretty sketchy with this Tiempo Legend 10 model. And finally, when it comes to the lockdown, my main issue is with the opening. Over here you have a lot of dead space for some reason, and it's not going to happen to everyone. It really depends on the shape of your foot. My foot is shaped in a way where my toes are kind of more tapered, probably because of all the football boots I've worn over the years, but then my it really extends out and my midfoot becomes super wide, and then my heel area and my ankle area, they're really narrow. So for me, I have perfect fit along this lateral side. When I come to the medial side, I have about maybe a teensy bit of space that's right here. And while it doesn't make for a weird fit, or I wouldn't say it makes for a weird fit or a bad lockdown in general, but I do get moments where if I'm trying to turn or twist and pivot, my foot will start to get some medial rollover through here. And it's just kind of annoying when I'm trying to play with the boots because that can be the difference between a good push off and like a bad push off, you know. Another issue I have is that because of this dead space that's right here, just because of the way my ankle is shaped, I end up getting turf pellets, excuse me, turf pellets, grass pellets, dirt, rocks, whatever it may be in here really quickly compared to some of my other football boots. And they accumulate at such a rate where if I'm doing a training session, I have to take these off every few minutes to try and get those pellets out. And then another issue I have specifically with my right boot is with my sole plate and my insole. For some reason, I don't know what happened, but this insole keeps shifting to the right when I'm playing with these boots, whether I'm using grip socks or not, which puts my big toe, or I'd say the ball of my big toe, on top of the actual sole plate. As you guys know, this is not good because this is going to cause a lot of friction. The insole is there to reduce that friction, but when this is sliding to the right, my big toe is just exposed to the sole plate and it's just causing a lot of friction. I actually have a pretty bad blister on my big toe now from using these, and it hasn't really gone away. And so I don't think that's a common issue with the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite in general. I think it's just this model and maybe this insole is a bit defective, so I'll have to figure that out. But those are just a few of the issues that I've had with the Tiempo Legend 10. Now, I will preface this by saying, or maybe not preface, but I will counteract these cons by saying that while they are negatives, they're not the worst things in the world. The boots are still very usable and still very good in my opinion. And so that leads me to my final thoughts about the Tempo Legend 10 Elite. Overall, the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite is a pretty good boot. If you've seen my TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube Shorts reviews, because they're all the same, I did say towards the end that these boots are objectively very good, but maybe as a Tiempo, they're just not what you would expect, especially if you're a longtime Tiempo user. For me, I would recommend them if you're interested in the synthetic leather experience, but you have to pay attention to your foot shape really well. If you have a wide foot, especially through the midfoot, and a narrow ankle, I would not recommend getting these just because the fit won't be that fun for you and it won't be great in terms of the overall comfort and enjoyment that you'll get from the football boots. Additionally, if you do want to get these, and you play on artificial grass a lot, I would recommend getting the artificial grass variation because the durability on these, from what I can see, is just not very good. Maybe I have a poor quality controlled version, but it's just not good enough in my opinion. But other than that, with the outsole that you get in terms of versatility, the lightweight of the boots compared to speed boots, and this fantastic upper that does provide a good balance of touch, plushness, padding, and barefoot connectivity to the ball, I think you get a really good package with the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite, and I would not be surprised if anyone chooses to go for these. Additionally, some alternatives if you are interested in a leather football boot experience or synthetic leather football boot experience, but you don't really want these, I would say check out the Adidas Copa Pure Plus 2 Plus, uh, 2.1, or you could go for the point 0.1 or the Plus model that they did before the refresh. Check out the stuff from Mizuno. Check out the New Balance 442, and there's also the Puma King Ultimate. So a lot of very good options that are competing with this Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elite, um, for the mantle of best leather, synthetic leather options out there. You could even check out the Adidas Predator Elite that's out right now because that also has a synthetic leather upper in the form of Hybrid Touch 2.0, which is pretty comparable to this in terms of comfort. But anyways, that's it for my review, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a good sense of what the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite is all about. And drop a comment. Tell me if you have these boots. Tell me if there's anything that I missed. Let me know if you enjoy these, if you'll be getting these, or if you think there's something better out there than these Tiempo Legend 10 Elites. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for my next unboxing, review, playtest, training session, or whatever video comes next. I will be trying to keep in touch and keep uploading as much as I can. And also, if you're interested, follow my socials, my Instagram, my TikTok, um, and obviously my YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. The handles are all the same at elodigwe.football. Take care. I will see you all in my next video. Peace out.